It's all about supply and demand. I supply these podcasts, and I hope and pray there's demand for them. Let's get to it. Welcome. Another great episode of IBF On Demand. I'm your short in demand and high in supply host, Eric Wilson. Wait, scratch that. Reverse it. My name is Eric. You can find me at eric@ibf.org. That's eric@ibf.org. Thanks for the follows and subscribes. Follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I said this is IBF On Demand. So thank IBF as well. And I also want to give a very special thanks to Arkiva. Driving business transformation by solving what others cannot. Thank you, Arkiva. It's not that heavy. We do have some things coming up. I mentioned a boot camp. We have a very special boot camp coming up December 6th through 9th. We're going to be covering the fundamentals of both supply and demand, how they work together, and if you are in one of those dual roles, what exactly you can be doing. So check it out at ibf.org. It's a supply and demand boot camp, December 6th through 9th. We're going to be in Austin, Texas, if I didn't mention that one. So it's a great place to be as well. This episode is actually part 3 of 4 or 5 episodes, most likely 4. I haven't decided yet, so let me know if you want to see a 5th episode. You'll see what that 5th episode is here in a little bit. But this is step 3 in the process of a supply and resource review or supply and resource planning. Part of the S&OP cycle that we've talked about. And this is the 3rd step in the process, supply and resource planning. And remember, basically there's 4 different reviews in the S&OP cycle. It's not that stair-step data gathering, demand, supply, pre-S&OP, executive S&OP. You're looking at product review, which we did. Demand review, which was the last one we did. Supply resource review, which is this one. And then executive review, which is that 4th step. The 5th step, and I said if you really want to see that 5th episode, it's going to be on sales and operations execution, S&OE, or TAC, tracking action collaboration. That's that weekly element. So it's not really a monthly part, but it's a weekly element that majority of mature organizations are doing now. That is a critical element in an S&OP process. So if you want to see another episode on that one, let me know. Comment down below or just email me, eric@ibf.org, and say, yeah, I want to hear more about S&OE or TAC, track and action collaboration. That's going to be that 5th one if you want. But getting back to this one, really we want to talk today about the 3rd step, and that's the topic of today on the supply and resource review. I said the 1st step was product, which was the brand strategy. That's what we talked about in the 1st episode, was the brand strategy, which is the product review. Then the 2nd step was the demand review, and that was the last one we did. It was a channel or customer strategy. And that was the important aspect I really wanted to stress in the last one, was that customer or channel strategy that was really the objective or the output of a demand review. That brings us to the 3rd step. Yes, this is the customers, how things can achieve it. That's what the output of the last one was. But how can we achieve it? And a better question, should we achieve it as a business, becomes the critical 3rd step in an S&OP process. That is the theme of today's show, the supply and resource review. This is the optimization or fulfillment strategy part of an S&OP process. This is taking everything we know from that point and really saying, what is our response to that? What is the best response? And you'll be surprised, or maybe you won't be surprised. A lot of you already filled in the blank. But some of you may be surprised on what the answer of the proper response to everything we've compiled to this point is. When you're looking at the traditional S&OP cycle of data gathering, demand, supply, there's not a lot of differences we're seeing now in the supply planning, with the exception we've added the word resource. Why did we add the word resource? Well, because we're seeing a lot more service industries start to utilize S&OP, IBP, BEP, whatever you want to call it. I don't get hung up on the acronyms. Whatever we want to call it, they're seeing a lot of service industries companies start to adopt S&OP processes. Matter of fact, I had a great guest on from SLB, Schlumberger, to talk about how S&OP is being adapted to the service industry. And she brought a lot of information of how they look at things from a supply and resource perspective. So I won't cover all those, but if you are in the service industry, guess what? You can utilize this as well. There is a way you can do this. Other things we're seeing start to work their way into optimization problems, because that's what we're doing is optimization and fulfillment strategy. Other things we're seeing work its way into an optimization strategy are things beyond just normal capacity and constraints that traditionally you looked at. Things like currency exchange and exchange rates and things of that sort are now being part of the discussions that are happening inside resource reviews because they play into the ultimate optimization problem. So what exactly is a supply review? What are we talking about with supply review? Well, it's a venue to determine the current and future resource capabilities, absolutely, analyze the most efficient response to all the different plans out there the company will use to execute the strategies in daily operations. But as I said, what we're looking at is what is the best response. And I said, it's not always, I'm going to do everything possible to get what the customer wants. Yeah, that's half of the equation sometimes. The other half of this equation is what should the business do? And sometimes what's right for the business may not be servicing the customer at 100%, may not be servicing all customers. There's some customers that the proper answer is no. There's some time in our fulfillment strategy or optimization strategy, some things have to be a yes, but. We could, but. So it's balancing, yes, the customer, balancing, yes, the demand plan, product plan, the brand strategy, the channel strategy, the customer strategy, all the different plans that exist out there. It's balancing all those and really determining what the business should do. That is ultimately what you're trying to do in a supply and resource review. I said it is the fulfillment and optimization strategy. It's the company's response. It's looking at the constraints. It's looking at the gaps in fulfillment. It's looking at what is the channel and customer strategy. What is that consensus demand? It's aligning the demand, the supply, the financials of the organization, the business goals of the organization, and developing options to best fulfill customer and business needs, to mitigate financial problems or opportunities, and understand exactly what your capability gaps are. That is what we're trying to do in a supply review. So it's taking the strategy we have from the product review, the brand strategy. It's taking the strategies from the demand review, the customer and channel strategy. It's taking the business model that we're trying to do with the executive strategy that we had, that's really guiding and driving the organization, which came from the prior executive S&OP, and it's reviewing the unconstrained demand. It's reviewing the needs, building upon it a fulfillment strategy that guides the execution of the company. And that's really that other piece that I really want to talk about. This becomes your opportunity to connect the strategy to the planning to the execution within an organization. This is that missing piece that really helps translate things to what people are doing and how they execute operationally. That's what we're trying to occur. So when you're looking at, we have this unconstrained plan coming in, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, here's what our capabilities are. We're going to work at this from a manufacturing standpoint, from a rough cut capacity, or kind of a master planning perspective. From a sourcing, we're going to see what the capability of our resources, what our lead times generally are, what kind of we have, and what we're developing is plans. We're developing playbooks. We're developing opportunities, options, and we're weighing all these things together to figure out what's going to work. So with that, we're going to need two pieces of the equation. One, we're going to need a good unconstrained plan coming from demand, as unconstrained as possible. Why do we want that unconstrained plan? Is because if you remember back, I've said this in the past two of this part series, both product and demand. I said, Lori, S&OP, IBP, whatever you want to call it, it's a business process, aligns all functional areas, unified set of assumptions for coordinated decision making. And each step in the process, Lori, exemplifies that definition. We're making decisions. Every step is a business process. Every step, we're aligning multiple functions, unified set of assumptions, coordinated decision making. Guess what we're doing in supply as well? The same things. It's a business process. We're not operating in silos. We're considering sales plans, marketing plans, logistics plan, warehouse plans, operating plans, manufacturing, supply plan, all the different plans that we have. Guess what? It's collaboration. We're aligning them to a unified set of assumptions. We're bringing everyone together to say, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And we're making decisions. That last piece, why do we need an unconstrained plan coming in to this cycle? Because we're making decisions. If we bring in a constrained plan, we've made those decisions for us. If we say, well, I know they're never going to be able to make more than 1,000 in a week, so I'm going to cap off my forecast at 1,000. Well, guess what? You're supposed to be really talking outside of these constraints in your S&OP process anywhere, where you can make decisions like adding capacity, new lines. Can we make something more efficient? What can we do if they want 1,200 a week? What capabilities do we have? But if we don't have that view to the 1,200, the decisions being made for us, we're eliminating that decision. We're eliminating one of the factors we're using for an optimization problem, because that is the other side of the equation. In the demand, we have a prediction problem. This is an unconstrained prediction problem. On the supply side, this is our response or constrained response. It's an optimization problem. That's how we make decisions. That's what we're using to make decisions. So that's really what we're trying to accomplish inside of this plan. We're bringing multiple functions together because everyone has their own plan. Everyone has their own idea of what they want to accomplish. Everyone has competing goals sometimes. Bringing those together and figuring out what's best for the business, it's going to be a unified set of assumptions that's going to be doing that. And we're going to ultimately make decisions on what's best for the customer, for the business, for the different plans. We're bringing these things together. So, yes, we could say it's about balancing supply and demand. And a very rudimentary, that is a definition of S&OP, and this is going to be the balancing part of supply and demand. But it's so much more about that. Just like demand is not a number that I'm putting out, this is not just a, here's my left cut capacity, I can do this is what I can do, done. No, we're making decisions. And this is an optimization and fulfillment strategy. This is the strategy we want to do. This is what we want to do outside of our constraints and chaos we're dealing with in our daily lives right now as supply chain management. This is the planning horizon where you hopefully can make decisions on, I say, a second source, adding capacity, finding ways we can shorten our lead time, whatever it may be. We might have other options we have from a logistics standpoint, from a warehouse standpoint we need to plan for. A lot of companies, it's not just about how much can I build. When you're looking at a fulfillment and optimization strategy, it's how much can I store? How am I going to move this product around? Where am I going to place the product? Who am I getting the product from? All those become considerations we're bringing in. Aligning all functional areas around a unified set of assumptions is what we are trying to do. So those become important and critical aspects. And to that point, I want to mention it here because when you look at the role and the job of supply in a supply review, there's so much that happens outside of a review every month. And with everything you need to do, most likely you're not going to get it done in one meeting every month. So just like demand may had a lot of outside meetings that roll up or come to a demand review. You may have individual customer reviews, things of that sort. Likewise, there's individual resource planning that's done. There's different types of capacity planning. There's different types of materials that you have to plan for. There's all those things that are happening outside of a traditional supply review that come in. Pat Bauer had a great illustration of that. If I can find it, it's posted here. If not, I apologize. I hope I can find it. I'm going to reach out to him, see if I can get a copy of that. But it's a great illustration of exactly how you see your S&OP cycle not being individual meetings. And that's really what I'm trying to stress here. S&OP is, above all, a business process. It helps coordinated decision making. But to be able to get to that business process side, especially here, we have all these other activities that are going on that continuously feed it, that are coming in. So when you look at your S&OP process, what exactly is coming into it? What exactly is coming out then? Okay. What's coming in? First and foremost, I want to mention we have a business strategy coming in. We have our product strategy coming in. We have our channel strategy coming in, and we have our customer strategy coming in. Those strategies are coming in because those are important. That's what the business wants. That's what the customer wants. That's part of the big balancing act we're doing. But what else is coming in? All those other activities I just talked about. All those other rough cut capacity, resource planning, master planning, sourcing, logistics, warehouse, network optimization, all those things that are going on, all those are coming into your review as well. All those individual components, all those have a seat at the table. All the individual meetings that are happening, those now have a say to be able to optimize for what's best for you, what's best for the organization, what's best for the company. We're going to bring in certain types of constraints we may already know, whether it be capacity, whether it be resources, whether it be a people constraint, whether it be a time constraint, lead times, a supplier. We're going to bring in known constraints we have. And the way we're going to do that is because we're going to take the initial plan and we're going to look against those constraints we have to understand the gaps that we do exist initially, and we're going to address those gaps. Are they reasonable? Are they something we could do to be able to make it up? And then what yes, but kind of scenarios. We can do this, but it's going to cost this, or it's at the cost of that. But we're going to first understand what exactly some of those constraints are. We're going to bring those in as well. We're going to understand what policies we may have. And the policies should align to our business strategy, but the policies could be inventory policies. We have a certain inventory because we have a certain type of covenant or cash flow we want to maintain. So we have an inventory plan and inventory policies. We may have service agreements that we need to bring into it. Yeah, it's great that I want to say no, but it's Walmart and we're going to get fined if we don't. Or in some other company, and we have a certain service agreement with them that we need to be able to do these certain things. So we need to understand what policies we have in place, what agreements we have in place, what are those constraints as well? Because guess what? The same way capacity, resources, these are constraints we need to bring into our equation then as well. And then we're going to understand what exactly are the levers we can pull. What are the key drivers? What are the dependent drivers for our demand? What are the supply capabilities that we have, not only internally but externally? What are the customer capabilities they have? What inventory are they managing? Are we managing for them, or what are they carrying? What are supplier lead times? How quick can they respond? How agile are they? So when you're looking at that from that outside in view, what exactly are the key drivers? What are the levers we have to be able to pull in our equation then as well? And then finally, collaboration. I said we're not operating in silos. We're bringing in multiple functions. We're bringing in logistics. We're bringing in warehousing. We're bringing in sales. We're bringing in our customer input through demand review that happened as well. We're bringing in finance. All these people are bringing in inputs that are relevant to our process the same way they're relevant to other processes as well. So when we have all this information, we're going to optimize and determine what our response is. And that response, or what the output then of our review, is going to be a constrained plan. Both constrained demand, constrained product, constrained supply plans. It might even be constrained logistic plans. Whatever plans that we need to constrain, we're going to have these as the outputs. Partly going to be a constrained plan. At the same time, we're not just going to say, that's it, take it now, that's what we decided. No, we're going to highlight any unresolved imbalances that still exist, the risk that's involved with it, the opportunities that still may exist. We're going to develop aggregated views for financial positions that's going to be able to help give a clearer picture to our P&L, to our cash flow. We're going to be able to provide these views to them as well. So it's not just pure ratios. We're going to be able to provide aggregated and more and sometimes detailed views so they can do more financial position and based planning. We're going to look at key assumptions that went into it. What exactly were the key assumptions that made our decisions? What's the variability even on our decisions that we made? And then we're going to develop options to mitigate any of those financial gaps we may have. Give recommendations how we can take advantage of some opportunities. But the main output of this is going to be a strategy. This is not it's written in stone, we're not going to change it. This is a strategy of what we want to try to accomplish because we think it best meets our business needs. And these are our buffers we're going to put in place because it's going to help us meet these strategies. And this is our production and sourcing and network plans that we're going to do to best meet our strategy. The important part is the strategy output, because guess what? Plans change, reality happens, but with a good strategy, we now have that North Star. We now have a guide to what we want to accomplish and why we want to accomplish something, and path or roadmaps to be able to get there. Even if you get off of the track sometime, there's a good chance you might be able to work to get back on track. So that is the ultimate output of what we're trying to accomplish, is that strategy. In the meeting, what kind of KPIs? What are we going to cover as KPIs and metrics? Well, my favorite answer, guess what? It depends. It depends on what type of business you are. But the key of any KPIs that we're looking at in a supply review is balance. We want balanced scorecards, balanced metrics. We don't want to look at things because a lot of times we have competing goals. We have competing objectives between functions. We need to look at something that really balances our indecision on what's best for the business. So the best way to do that is to have a balanced scorecard. We need to look at the top line, whether it's going to be a revenue number, whether it's going to be an on-time and full number, or a combination thereof. We're going to need to look at our cost. What are our supply chain costs? And with that, you're most likely going to look at some things that contribute to those things as well, as far as efficiencies, different types of capacity, things that you can relate to possibly your cost. If you're running at peak efficiency, if you're not hitting the attainment of what you said you're going to do, if you're running over on cost, you have to air freight things in, all those things need to have visibility of and have metrics to really bring those in. So now we have service, or top line, we have cost, we need to measure our cash. This is where inventory looks at as well. What are our inventory turns, days of supplies, a forward-looking projection? All those can be KPIs or any functional KPIs that really feed into those. As long as you're looking at a balance of that triangle, that becomes key in a supply review. Because what you're doing is you're managing the trade-offs. You're managing the exceptions that can be managed. That's what you're trying to do in these reviews, is manage the trade-offs and the exceptions that are able to be managed. And you want to be able to look at your results as if you're properly managing them with your KPIs. So when I talk about supply, it really becomes a critical element and a critical part of that monthly cycle we're doing. Supply and resource planning is a major output of an S&OP cycle, and it really impacts a lot of different things. We already said it will impact all these different plans, but it also impacts finance, revenue projections. They're only as good, not only as the sales, but what we commit to be able to do internally to be able to make those sales. It will impact sales because they have a commitment maybe to their customers or commitment to what they plan on doing. Sales is only good as the schedules or inventory we have to be able to deliver. Marketing, promotions, guess what? They're not going to work unless we have them planned into the process. They're only as good as our capabilities to do what we say we're going to do. HR, as far as staffing, they're only as good as projected needs and of utilization of that staff. Logistics, transportation is only going to be as good as understanding where it's going to be and when it's going to be needed. And then operations, production, schedule. From an execution standpoint, we're only as good as the output of these meetings. The last thing I want to touch on is really that consensus, collaboration, transparency. I said they're critical in every S&OP process. And guess what? They're outputs and they're critical elements of a supply review as well. When it comes to consensus, supply review is all about bringing a fulfillment strategy, a consensus plan. You get a single fulfillment strategy is one of the outputs that you see. And what the benefits of that? It points everyone in the company at a similar direction. One of the things we saw in COVID was companies that had a good alignment, good consensus. They may have been going in the wrong direction, but when they got a new signal, they could steer together towards another direction quicker. When you're talking about agility, you want to be more agile. One of the key things in agile is consensus, is having everyone on the same page, looking at the same information in the same time, and really going towards the same direction. And it helps connect the planning to the execution when you have consensus as well. When you have a plan or a strategy, Lori, it allows you to connect the execution to that planning or fulfillment strategy better. So consensus helps with all those things. It's also about collaboration, though. It considers multiple plans. It's looking at what's best for the company. That's what you're looking with collaboration. And it's bringing in all these multiple views into a single plan. And then finally, it is about transparency. The company is not operating in silos then. It's a realistic, complete view of the strategy and performance and expectations, including the view of targets and anticipated attainment for the organization. That's the part of transparency that you need, not only from a financial standpoint, but everyone to get and trust the plans and be part of that plan as well. So it's all about consensus, collaboration, and transparency. Well, that's a wrap for me. I'm going to go see if I can drum up some more demand to meet this supply. My name is Eric. You can find me at eric@ibf.org. That's eric@ibf.org. This is IBF On Demand. You can actually help. Please, if you want to drum up more demand for these podcasts, you have something you can actually do for this. Invite your colleagues. Send this over to a colleague, coworker. Post this. Here's a challenge. Please, this podcast, or go back, pick the podcast that you like the best. Post it on LinkedIn. Post it on your social media. Post it on Snap, TikTok. I don't care. Post it on your social media so that way we can get more people involved with this. We can get more input. We can continue to grow this tribe, and we can have even better content going forward. So please consider liking, comment, posting one of these in the future. I want to thank Arkiva, driving business transformation by solving what others cannot. Thank you, Arkiva, wonderful sponsor. Remember, we do have a boot camp coming up December 6th through the 9th. 2 of the days is supply and demand. Wonderful opportunity. I don't care which hat or both hats you wear, because I'm finding a lot of people out there that are watching these wear multiple hats. You're not alone. But this is the boot camp for you, because we're going to cover supply and demand from your perspective. People who wear multiple hats or people who want to know what the other people do. If you wear multiple hats, December 6th through the 9th, Austin, Texas, IBF On Demand. If you're a demand planner, come. Bring your supply planning cohort to it. Both of you come. December 6th through the 9th, Austin, Texas. If you're a supply planner, bring your demand planning cohort to it. December 6th through the 9th, Austin, Texas. Come, IBF On Demand. IBF, not on demand, IBF.org. And remember, finally, supply planning is a dirty job. So don't forget, wash your hands.